welcome back to the Glassgirls network. We're finally back. It's been a while since we've been here. John is here in your little Glassgirls den here. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a while. I can't remember last game. Was it Wolves when we discussed what happened at the end of that game?
Maybe something like that.
It's been a few games. I know we've got a few things to discuss. Yeah, absolutely. But we've got so much to discuss. We've actually got some notes on his lap and a whole book.
We've got plenty to talk about today. Yeah,
and I've actually,
a bumper episode.
Live here. I was going to angle that a little bit there. Look, I've angled it the wrong way.
Hello.
Angled it the wrong
way.
There
we go. Working on the go.
Them things behind me there. They've got to be level. That's the thing. So let's put that. Where is it? Somewhere like that. That's better.
There we go.
That looks a little bit level. Sorry guys. That was going to annoy me. I feel like that we can do
get
that.
Get it all sorted out early.
Yeah, there we go. Lots to get into.
Yeah, what do we want to talk about first? Should we go through my board?
So I think what we basically want to do today is just discuss the different ways that we could potentially get relegated or not get relegated, but it's not necessarily the normal talking points. So there's three options, there's three ways we're going to think about relegation or surviving relegation, which I'm going to name to you right now, and then we'll go into a bit of detail regarding each one. So obviously the first way is just the traditional way, finishing in the bottom two, you get relegated. The second way is because of what's happening with the Championship. Obviously there's only 11 teams in the Championship now. Reading at the start of the season came out of it. And the third way is voluntary. Obviously that was a rumour that was going around last year. It's another rumour that's going around this year. So we're just going to discuss those few points, but we'll start off just the traditional way really, how the season's going and seeing how we're getting on.
Yeah, I mean it's been an interesting few months, hasn't it? Really. There have been signs that we're starting to get a bit better. We're starting to click a bit more. However, results haven't particularly reflected that at the moment, which is tough to take because when you look at what we're doing and you feel like, for the girls, for age, they feel like something's going right. However, it just might not be enough. It's gutted, it's disappointing, but as we said, there's plenty of football still to play. There's plenty of possibilities that could happen at the end of the season. So, we're definitely not out of the count. There's games that are winnable coming up, and we've just got to look forward to them. But one of the major things that I think has really not helped our case so far in these last few months is the injuries that we've had. It's been really, really mental to see in our most crucial period. The amount of players that we've had out through knocks and everything else, is absolutely insane. We're just going to go over a couple of them because it would be insanity to mention them all. Harriet, obviously, I think
situation.
But both goalkeepers. We'll talk about Harriet first. Got concussed at Liverpool Feds. Took a massive knock to the head, and she shrugged it off with a comedic value, it has to be said. But clearly wasn't all a laughing matter because she did miss the next two games. Which wasn't a massive deal because we have Faz and we know that Faz is a fantastic number two
and
to come back in.
She's done well, isn't she?
She really, really did well. However, what happened to her. Was that against West Brom? That was
West Brom.
West Brom.
She played against Stoke, didn't she?
Yes.
The West Brom, and then
and then she's just collided with this attacker. Luckily, it's not as bad as it actually looked like it could have been. Obviously got stretchered off in the actual game, went to hospital, and turns out things aren't as bad. So potentially see her back out there by the end of the season. Fingers crossed for that, of course. And then Rosie Axton.
It's been a while.
It has actually. She's been back doing a few of the warm-ups recently, which is really, really good to see. But yeah, like you said, I can't even remember what game that was because that was a while ago. And that's been again another really, really crucial one because Rose, I think, is so important to the way we play, the way we set up. So to have a player like her out is a big loss to us all. And then a couple of other ones, Jessic's been out for a while. Gwen has missed the last few games. So yeah, that's just off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a few more in there as well.
And I just felt the need to not the need, but he actually came off. We just made that conversation at the start of, I think it was the Stoke game. He just came off and he just says to us, we just, hardly got any subs because of injuries. It was such a shame because as I think, the Liverpool Feds game, everyone was saying how good that we performed there.
Yeah.
and I actually thought we played really well against Albion as well. So it's just a shame that it's not so much the starting 11, but it's like the depth on the bench, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is a massive shame when you get your injuries. So yeah, it's definitely played a part, hasn't it?
100%, yeah. But speaking of that depth, Ed has done what he can about it. Brought in a few new faces over the last few weeks. We'll talk about Sam Baker first. Really like Sam Baker. A really good, tough tackling, quite technical midfielder. He knows her from his Leafield days.
Yeah.
I believe the captain of Leafield.
Yeah, Leafield back in 22 maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously gets on really well with Aid. And yeah, has come in and not really done a whole lot wrong. I don't think she's played really well alongside Demi in the sort of deeper half of midfield. And yeah, I thought she's done really well.
I think that midfield has kind of got like a little bit stronger. Like if everyone was fit, I've seen a bit more. We might be like lacking in some areas, but I think strength-wise and a bit more confidence in regards to vocality as well.
Yeah.
I think that those kind of things has helped by bringing Sam in, especially.
I think that's what we noted as well, wasn't it? Sometimes, especially against these top teams, they just overrun the midfield so well, and when you haven't got those tough physical presences in there, they just run all over you. So to get players like that in, and Demi's one herself, and to have those two together really helps us, I think.
Yeah.
Grace Harris next up, an interesting signing. She's come in having not played a whole lot of football as of recently. Definitely just someone who could bolster the squad. And she's done all right. She's done all right. She made her debut at Newcastle, or Burnley, sorry, Burnley, not Newcastle. And that was a tough game for her. Obviously, it's going to be. Burnley are a quality side, and yeah, they showed their class that day. But yeah, she's been in and around the squad ever since then.
Yeah.
Obviously put on the goalkeeping gloves when Faz got injured, and
former rugby player there.
Yeah, she did all right.
Obvious,
A bit of a sweeper keeper.
Yeah.
And then she played against Rugby in the county cup. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she fit that one quite well. But yeah, she played against them in the county cup. I think came on as a substitute, and I thought she did quite well. So yeah, Grace is in. And then Lindsay Ross Baker is one of our latest arrival, coming from Solihull Moors, I want to say. And yeah, I think she's a very pacey, skillful winger. Adds a bit of depth out wide. Obviously, we're potentially lacking in a few bodies if people keep getting injured and whatnot. So yeah, to have her in and a bit more quality out there is definitely a positive, I think.
I think from what I've seen with Aids recruitment all over the season is not just getting anyone willy-nilly, he's getting like positions he's always needed. So we knew that it was lacking in the defence in one area. We knew that like the full-back was going to be an issue. That came at a good time, that signing, because obviously Meg was on holiday for a couple of weeks. Tilly's now left us as well. So I think to bring Grace in, that was obviously a great time. Jess Hood injured, obviously Shauna McCann-Lloyd isn't around, so I think those players coming in is kind of just like, you can say them better, worse, who knows, I guess we'll see over time. However, they've come in at the right areas, haven't they? So it's kind of looked, okay, who can I bring in to replace who's missing? And I think it's okay. I'm looking forward to seeing how they get on, because we've still got Halifax, Hull and Kelso to play where they can actually make a good name for themselves, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. Do we want to speak about this run in there?
Yeah, I think we need to.
So we've got down here our fixtures, obviously, and Kelsers, because Halifax aren't looking likely to get out of the relegation equation, and the other teams are potentially looking slightly beyond our reach at this moment.
Yeah.
So we've got down the Kelser and obviously our fixtures, and we'll run through them. This Saturday, Forest at home. This is for us. This Saturday, Forest at home, Stoke away, which is a tricky one because Stoke have really improved this season. And then Hull away, which is potentially something you could nick something
I think
from.
I think we got it.
And then you definitely look and think, out of all of them, that could be one that you get something from, definitely. So. Rugby away, again, going to be a tough one. Halifax at home, that is one of our ones where 3 points is a must. Obviously, you would have thought by then they might have already been relegated. So even more of a positive spin on it for us.
Yeah.
But obviously, you can't let that get to your head. Those sort of things. So yeah, that's a positive for us definitely. And then Calcer away, which is the biggest game of the season. Absolutely the biggest game of the season. I don't want to say it's a must win, because if we get something out of any of these games, it might not be that, but it's looking likely it's going to be a must win.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think they've got a better goal difference than us as well. So being level with them, there's a 4-point gap. So let's say we win that Halifax game and lose all the others, that point that we gain, or even it won't even matter, because they'll gain a point from that as well. I didn't even think about that.
Well,
So it is a must win basically.
Yeah.
And then Derby to end the season off.
I'd rather have our final game of the season as opposed to Calcer's. I mean, Calcer's away to Burnley, aren't they?
Even still, but like Derby,
it's doable.
It is doable
at
home as well. If they've got nothing to play for, and we're proper up for it.
We need a win to survive. For
exactly.
Example.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I think the thing that strikes me there is the Halifax rearranged game. So I would have loved Halifax to have been earlier in that running, because by the time we get there, it sounds bad to say, but it could almost be over by then, because Calcer's got Halifax coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. So that could be 7 points plus goal average that they would have over us. So you could argue 8 points. So then by the time it gets to the Halifax game, we would have already needed to have won another game before then. And I just loved it, just for like momentum and a bit of belief that if the Halifax game was a little bit earlier into the season, as you say, they might not have too much to play for, but their manager has announced that he'll be leaving. He's been there for 12 years, really well respected across the National League. You can see all of his comments, all of the comments he's getting are from his rivals, because they've all seen and recognised how good he's done. So they might want to play for him, and they still might want to not finish bottom. So I do think the Halifax game could prove to be very tricky. But obviously Halifax is still going to play Calcer as well, haven't they? So yeah, for me, I think that's not necessarily helped us.
No.
Pushing Halifax back so much. However, you've still got to get what looks at that was going to be like probably three wins maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Like you say, if Calcer beat Halifax, is that this weekend? Is it when we play Forest?
Where we play Forest, I think.
Yeah. So let's imagine that's a 7-point gap between us. We then need to pick up 3 wins realistically. From those games that we mentioned earlier.
What's done us as well is Calcer's actually picked up points that we wasn't really not expecting, because you can't say they can't expect it, but like the win against Albion and the draw against Derby, that's 4 additional points that we now have to get. So we could have been sitting here equal on points now. There's a 4-point gap, and it's no coincidence them 4 points have come from Albion and Derby, ones that they did above and beyond and got points from. We could have been sitting here now, okay, down on goal average, but thinking, we win Calcer at their place, no issue, job done. But because Calcer's done well getting them points.
I think that's the one disappointing thing about this season, is that we haven't got any points like that. We've beat Calcer, we've beat Halifax, and those are the only points that we picked up. We haven't scraped a draw at West Brom or Derby or anyone like that.
Maybe the final game of the season will do it.
Maybe it could.
That'll be the one.
Yeah, it really could, couldn't it? So yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I'm very much looking forward to the run-in, because it could go anywhere. And potentially, as we'll go on to say, it might not even matter where we finish. But John, do you want to hop us right into what you've got there?
So that's option 1, the traditional way. Option 2 is because of what's happening in the Championship. So I've written a few things down.
There we go. Strapping everyone. Because I had to get my head around this a few minutes ago.
Okay, so I'm leaning towards the camera.
Let's lock in.
So Reading started the season in the Championship, the league above, and now they're not there. They chose that they didn't want to be in the Championship, so they're completely out of the equation. So there's now 11 teams in the Championship. Okay, so only one you'd expect would now get relegated into Tier 3. Blackburn is 9th, Sheffield United 10th, and Portsmouth, only on 2 points, are 11th. So it looks at this stage that Portsmouth are the team that's going to get relegated into Tier 3. Okay, so only one team now needs to come out of that league to make 10 teams, as we just kind of discussed. So, Championship has 10 teams. You've then got the promoted team from Tier 3 North, which is our league. So you're looking at the likes of Forest, Wolves, Burnley, maybe Stoke. They'll go up to make 11. And then you've got the Tier 3 South that will go up, which will probably be Ipswich or maybe Hashtag or Exeter. Okay, so that kind of levels out the Championship. So that's how the Championship is sorted. Both Tier 3 teams get promoted. And Portsmouth, being Southern, will drop into the South. Right, I was going to take a break there.
Yeah,
okay, so nothing really out the ordinary there, apart from only one team gets relegated, which means Tier 3 North, where we are, is currently one team few. Okay, that's really important. Portsmouth has to go into the South, no problem. So Portsmouth will drop down. Hashtag Exeter or Ipswich will go up. That's just a straight swap, no problem there. Billericay or could potentially join MK Dons. It could be Billericay, Plymouth, Cheltenham, any of those teams. So those two teams could go down. Tier 4 winners of the two leagues could go up. I can see you smiling, but I'm doing well. That's just a straight swap. So what I'm basically saying is Tier 3 South, no issues. Okay, so Championship, no issues. Tier 3 South, no issues. The issue is Tier 3 North, where Stourbridge is. So because no one's come down from the Championship into Tier 3 North, but Forest will still go up, or Wolves, whoever, we are one too few teams. Okay, because Stourbridge could go down with Halifax, your Loughborough, Middlesbrough, Chorley could go up. However, you're still one team too few.
From the promoted team going up.
Yeah, so like our team basically, you're still, so where we currently are, the league that we're currently in, will still have only 11 teams. Mainly because there's no one been relegated into our league from Tier 2 to Tier 3. Okay, so what would usually happen is the 11th place team would be reprieved. We're possibly going to be the 11th place team. I'm doing well. I've explained that.
Yeah,
okay,
no, yeah. You
watch it back if you need to. Press the slider, play it again. So that could save us. However, there's a little twist there. What could go wrong there? Well, why should Billericay, Cheltenham, Plymouth, who could all end up with 14, 15, 16 points, why should they get relegated and not the 11th place team in Tier 3 North?
League.
Yeah, in our league. So why? Because we could end up with 6 points. They could end up on 14 points, but why should they have to go down and not us? Could there be a playoff? So the two 11th place teams have to play each other. Whoever loses goes down. I think that's too awkward. I think that's probably the fairest way, but that could get too awkward because you've got to start thinking about location, dates, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Costs too much.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing. They could promote an extra team from the Tier 4 North. So, for example, Loughborough and Leafield and Northampton. One of those teams could also join Peterborough. However, that's never been done before. Or, what could happen is a team like Stourbridge turns around and says, well, we don't want to necessarily be in the league anymore. We'll get relegated. Billericay can stay, and then the most northern team of Tier 3 South, at Cheltenham, would then move into the north. That's another option. Or Halifax stays in the league and just swaps with us. So we go down as a 12th place and Halifax gets reprieved. I have a feeling that this might have already, I have a feeling that something got on and the governing bodies know what's going on, they just haven't announced it yet. And that might go into our next conversation. But I think I've kind of explained that, and rewind it, play it again if you need to. But I think I've covered everything there.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah, go on.
Can I add a massive spanner into your works here?
Yeah,
I'd like to get your.
Yeah, I've got.
What if it's not Portsmouth that goes down? What if it's Sheffield United or Blackburn?
Then it's the flip. So then we would definitely go down because you've got a northern team coming into our league. So we would definitely go down then, and it could be Billericay that's in the same boat as us, where where it would be them that would have to be reprieved or something going on there. and that would be massive. If that was to happen, but I guess we shall see. I think so long as Portsmouth go down, we have a chance of the 11th place team staying in the league, because that's the most logical thing to do. However, I don't think that's going to be the case, and we'll talk about that shortly.
Has anything happened like this previously within the National League, and what was the outcome there?
Yeah, I can't remember the team, so I do apologise. I should have done my research on this, but in the group chat that I'm in, it's never an additional promotion team. It's more about like saving the relegated team.
Yeah.
If they want saving, and that's the thing.
That's the key.
Do we want saving as a club? So I think this is kind of like the one now where you talk a little bit about voluntary relegation. And it's such a shame to start talking about this, but I think it needs to be spoken about because we speak about it as fans.
It's a possibility, of course.
It's a possibility, isn't it? So, there was this rumour last year, and that's all it was. It was just a rumour. We heard it was going to be the case. Stourbridge have had a very tough time this year, and I credit Aid and every single player who stuck with it through a very difficult time. I really do. But there are rumours that could happen. What are your thoughts on if that was the case, that we that we have the option to we've gone in through the back door, we're 11th, but we could still stay in the league because of what's happened in the league above us. However, we still then end up going down.
I think it's a really tough one, isn't it? Because from a footballing perspective, obviously you'd want to stay in the league. Obviously you want to compete at the highest tier that you can.
Yeah.
However, off the pitch, we know that there's been troubles with the money, and it keeps plummeting, and it's not going to get any better for as long as we stay in this league, because as much as it costs to travel to these places like Hull and Newcastle last year, and then paying for people to come in the door, there's no escaping the fact that attendances are low at the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all of them, and it's other factors of just being in the league and paying for whatnot that you need to have in the league. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So as we say, it's a possibility. It depends what happens. In the summer, could something give us a lifeline, a new sponsor, a new something or whatever. But as it stands at this very moment in time, without any of that additional help or whatever, it's most definitely a possibility that we could explore this.
Yeah, and I think before we go on to what could potentially happen in my prediction, so I'll give my thoughts from top to bottom on this shortly. I think let's just talk a bit more about this voluntary relegation in the sense of it's not a positive for me, because I want to stay in the league, because I think once we're out of the league we'll never get back in the league again, and I think there's teams like Northampton, Peterborough, Leafield who are trying so hard to be in tier 3, and like we're in tier 3 but we're just like not as happy. We should be happy, people like spending so much money to get where we are. I don't think we're grateful enough. That's what I'm saying. We should be grateful of where we are. However, there would be more happier things if we was in tier 4. And I'm not even going to say either spoiler. I'm not even saying tier 4. However, at this point in the conversation, tier 4. If we do go to tier 4, man, them games will be massive. They'll be like against local teams, so less travelling, against our former players, so the storylines there, which I love. Obviously, I know all the tier 4 anyways. It's great. We'll start winning a few more games, not as many as people might think, but I think it's a great league. It's getting stronger and stronger. There are definitely benefits of playing some of those teams. Imagine playing against Neve Deasy, Tash Tesgal.
Yeah.
If Kiddie get promoted, playing Kiddie again, playing Worcester, Esme. There are benefits of that, and I think it would be enjoyable. And it could bring the fans back round, in regards to match days, because you want to see a few more goals and for us. So I do think there's bonuses there. However, I don't want to see us relegated.
No,
Simple as that. And I think I've made
not.
my point very well now, since the start. But I think I can see the benefits of it. It's just
From a business perspective.
yeah, of course. But no one. I mean, you speak to any fan in Premier League. It's not normal to want your team to get relegated just so you can win a few more games. That's not normal, is it? So, but there would be benefits of tier 4. You'd like to think. Thoughts on that one, matey?
Yeah, definitely. I think as I say, it's something that needs thinking about, and do the pros outweigh the negatives with it? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the money side in and out. Obviously, we hear bits and bobs, and we don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know what the club have got lined up, whether there's things coming in, whether there's things going out. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just want to touch on my point that I made to you before we started this. If for whatever reason, maybe we survive mathematically, maybe this championship thing allows us to survive.
Yes.
What does the club look like, in your opinion, for another year in Tier 3?
That's a great question. Isn't it? I think what I'd like to see is aid stay and get support. But I don't know why the club would support again in regards to, have they got the money? That they've already put like a lot of money into the men's side. Have they got more money to keep putting in realistically? So I think we'd be a struggle again.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to think that we'd have a better summer and that we'd be able to keep more players. So I don't think 19 players would leave if we stayed in the league. And if we did stay in the league, whether it be because Castle goes down or for whatever reason, I think more players would start to trust us. I'd hope. And I think we could start keeping that core. So I think your Daisies, your Jess, I'd like to think Rosie Embley would stay and Erin if we stayed in Tier 3. And all of a sudden now you've got a bit of a core group of people who've been with the club for 2 years or more maybe. And they can start building the section so your fan base starts to grow again. I think that there's more that we need to do there, of course. But I think that would be the ideal scenario. Would aid want to stay? Would the players want to stay and go through this again? I think there'd have to be a conversation there. I think aid would have to say, well look, what's it going to look like first?
Yeah.
Aid wouldn't need to stay. He's done his Tier 3 experience. He's wanted that, hasn't he, for 12 years, 11 years, 12 years. And he's done that. He could quite easily go. And if a new manager comes in, they would have to bring in their own players, probably. That's how it works, isn't it? If it's a well-known manager who can bring in quality players, then it's a positive. It's what we need. However, who would then look at coming to Stourbridge? We don't know. I just don't know what that answer is either just yet. I've got a couple of thoughts that I'm not going to say, but I can think of one or two that would probably improve the morale or maybe improve the personnel who could come in with them. However,
it's
just not likely. I don't think.
It's so tough as well because if anyone, even players, see what's going on here, and they've seen Stourbridge this season, and it's a lot of losses. It's a few wins here and there, but the majority is losses, and it looks from the outside all doom and gloom. It takes a special type of person to say, I fancy that challenge, which is why I commend all the girls and Aid for sticking with it, and for especially those that have come in most recently and have seen there is a chance that we can turn this thing around, and they're up for that. Then I think that's massive props to them for taking that challenge.
I think the number of players that would be okay next year in Tier 3, they just need to bring in more players along with them.
Yeah.
And like I said, that core group is so important to a club, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you guys at home, you think to yourself, who's in that core group of players that if it wasn't there next year, who would you want to be in that core group? So when new players come in, they can teach them the Stourbridge way, and that Stourbridge way needs to change a little bit next year as well. I think there needs to be a middle ground, and I've started to see that. I'm glad I thought about that, because I have started to see a difference massively since December, and it's getting better in regards to match days in particular. But I think that's a different conversation that we'll do in a different video. But I think it will be a struggle, as it's expected to be a struggle, but I still think it's doable.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to go through like my outcome of this then, so we can kind of draw a line under it. So I think what my thoughts would be is, I think because there's not been any announcement just yet, I think that the governing bodies know what's going on, and I think that they just can't say something for a particular reason. So for that reason, I think that maybe Stourbridge have turned around and said, look, if we finish 11th, give it to Billericay, keep them up, and we'll unfortunately drop a little bit and go into another league. That would obviously deprive maybe a Halifax or Cheltenham come across, Billericay stay up and do it that way. I think there's a way there where that could work quite easily, but that would then also have a knock-on effect right the way down the tiers. So if we end up going into tier 4, no problem, that's just a straight swap. However, what if we don't need to even be in tier 4? Because if we go to tier 4, we'll still need a ground to play in that's got a turnstile, that's got facilities, and that'll go on to our next point shortly. So we could end up going to a tier 5, which would then save a Worcester City in tier 4 or a Solihull Moors in tier 4, and then we end up in tier 5. And the reason why we think potentially that's an option is because of the ground situation. So if you want to start off with maybe like what your thoughts are in regards to the pitch at the moment at the War Memorial Ground, and the thing that's been said on Facebook in the comments on the men's side more than the women's side, and why we're thinking that we, as a women's section, we may not be playing our games at the War Memorial Ground next year.
Yeah, I mean,
because of that reason.
The pitch is a state, right? Like there's no hiding it, especially during these harsher, colder months. It just turns into a big boggy mess. And when you've got games on a Saturday, games on a Sunday, games midweek, and the youth teams are playing there, and Stourbridge Standard men's playing there, just everything going on. Probably 3 or 4 days a week that pitch is getting used for 90 minutes. And it's not holding up well. It's not doing well. It's a big worry. Obviously, as you say, a lot of people from the men's side of the club have noted it, and have made it a big concern. Really, Liam McDonald, the manager, has said, it's an issue. And I actually think when I watch Stourbridge men, we play some of our best football not at home, away on these nice pitches, 4Gs, or even just a well kept grass pitch. I think at home we really do struggle, and whether that's 100% down to the pitch, obviously you can never really tell, but I don't think it's a helping factor at all. So yeah, reducing the number of games that are played on there, whether that's the youth team and Stourbridge Standard, or whether that's the women's first team as a whole, and get them somewhere else, get there to Castleview or Hingley's, or a 4G somewhere. Whatever that might look like, I think that then eases up the pressure on your moneymaker, the men's team, which in turn you'd hope is a net positive, I guess.
So I thoroughly understand that, and in an ideal world you keep the men's and the women's because that equality, parity, and it's your standard team in your youth teams that plays elsewhere. But what I'd also say as well is our gates at the moment don't necessarily need a 4-sided stadium. Not a 3-sided stadium, but at the stadium at the side of War Memorial Grounds. So, and we know that's kind of been brought on. Well, I think that's been brought on by ourselves. I think we've kind of self-destructed in that sense. But that's a different conversation. But if we stay in tier 4, we will have to play with in a proper stadium. Simple as that. It has to be. It has to have turnstiles. It has to have facilities. You have to provide the away team some food, this, that, and the other. So you can't play at a Castleview. You can't play at Hingley's. You have to play at a better ground. So that's why I'm thinking, well, do we stop at tier 4 or do we end up going straight to tier 5, a regional league? And that could be obviously disastrous for what we've once had, literally 12 months ago, to go from that to that. And I think that'll be a completely different subject in the summer if we do end up being removed from the main ground. But I think that is a separate conversation. But then that would, if we did end up in tier 5, that would save other clubs in tier 4 from relegation this year, which is massive. And then the other thing to then open up is if we end up in a tier 5 situation, Stourbridge Standard, are a very good team playing in tier 7, a very good team, who, if they actually played all their games this season and they're not being rained off, they could be in for a very good chance of promotion into tier 6. Do we need 2 teams at that level?
Yeah.
Are we then looking at combining a team and just calling it a Stourbridge team, and then just going from there again? In a tier 5 league, you'd definitely expect to be in the top 4 of that league. You'd hope, wouldn't you? So you could gain that bit of positivity and almost build from scratch again, like we used to be when it was in tier 5 before. I'll open that one up to you, Kieran. I mean, we've gone from one extreme to the other in this conversation, but it's the way I kind of just wanted to explain it, because everything's got a knock-on effect, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think all of these options are up for debate, and I don't think there's any right way of predicting our future at the moment. So yeah, like you say, that could be a possibility. It's something that maybe could happen. Obviously, Stourbridge Standard under Ryan Magson are doing really, really well this season. Should they get promoted? I don't know. Are they going to finish their season with the amount of games they've got left? I don't know. But yeah, it's a tough one, because as you say, the goal of Standard is development for these players, where they're not going to get much game time at the first team or a higher league club, so they come and play at tier 7 and hopefully do well and progress themselves. But is the jump from tier 5 to tier 7 enough to warrant that? And I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure it is at the moment. Obviously, we know talent is filtering its way down the pyramid slowly, but I think some of the teams that are in tier 5, you'll know yourself, John, with Kidderminster currently. There are still some poor teams in the pyramid that haven't filtered their way down just yet. And likewise, there are some great teams in tier 7 and tier 6 that are going to work their way up eventually. So yeah, it will even itself out eventually. And then I guess it just is a case of where do we put ourselves. As I say, is that jump enough to warrant a whole different team with a whole nother set of expenses as well? Obviously, paying for kits and the venue and stuff like that. Is all that worth just having these players to develop them for a team that is not much higher than they could be? If that makes any sense.
No, it does. I think it's a great conversation. I'm sure we'll have these conversations pretty much in every podcast now going forward until the rumours get quashed or get confirmed, I guess. It got back to me a few weeks ago. It was actually an under-16s game that I wasn't at. I've never been to this club before, but I know someone who is associated with that club, and they just says, "John, is this rumour correct?" And I'd heard it about 10 days ago from a completely different person, and I'm thinking, you're probably right then. So I think somewhere it's been announced. Obviously, everything's under wraps, and potentially that's going to happen. I hope it will. I hope we massively won't go much like playing. If we have to move out the ground, I don't know where we would play that's going to be good enough, because we played at Stourbridge Swifts, didn't we? I don't know what other stadiums are in the area. Maybe that's something we can look at. But either way, it's going to cost money, isn't it? And that's not something that we're going to want if we have to play all our home games at Stourbridge Swifts. I can see the fan base getting even less. So that's not great. I know I just said Stourbridge Swifts because we played Burnley there. But I'm sure there's other pitches as well. But it has to be good. I'd love to be playing in tier 4 as opposed to tier 5. 100%. But do the club just see us as a tier 5 team? And based on maybe like the revenue that we've got now, because of what's happened over the summer and the way things have gone, our revenue wise, we probably are a tier 4, tier 5 team now. Whereas, in the past, I think we've thoroughly deserved tier 3, because we've had the players, we've had the fan base, we've had the coaches, we've had the backing.
Potentially not financially, but just what we have.
We thoroughly deserve to get to where we are. However, it is looking like now this could be the end of the line. So don't mean to depress you guys, but I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and I've deliberately held this off regarding the championship stuff because I thought it would have been announced by now, but it's not, and it got me thinking. hence why I've got my big book.
It's full of notes. There's a whole
Mate,
2-page
I'll tell you what,
spread.
I've got everything here. I've got my Glassgirls Network podcast. I've got my lower league lingo and awful women's football. I've got my investigative women's football stuff and everything else as well.
It's all there, mate.
It's my big book. If you want to see what I'm up to, read my big book.
But yeah, as you say, quite depressing, isn't it? But should we try and wrap this up on a lighter note?
Please do.
Stourbridge Standard, as we've mentioned for quite a bit of this episode, they're into a cup final.
Yes.
They've smashed it, done really, really well. I forget who they played, but I think it was a 1-0 win or they win on pens. I can't really remember off the top of my head. But it's the Birmingham. I'm trying to get this right. Birmingham County Vars final. It's not the cup, obviously. It's the Vars, which is tier 6 to 7 and 8, I believe. So yeah, they've obviously done really, really well getting in there from tier 7. The details I don't think are officially out there yet, so I'm going to keep my mouth closed on any venues or dates or whatever. So yeah, but obviously if we can get down to that, I'm sure we will go and support the girls and Ryan, and yeah, hopefully give us something to shout about this season, because I think we need it.
Yeah, well, massively, and it's and there are players there that you guys will recognise. So if you've been watching this channel for 2, 3, 4 years, or however long, 3 years I think we've been going. If you've been watching us, you'll know some of these players have played for the Standard. You know, they have played in tier 3, maybe Demi Phillips.
Yeah.
You know, tier 4 definitely with Kieran Scarlett. Erin Hogan's been around for a while now as well. There's more. Isla McNally's going to be coming back soon, hopefully. So some of these names that we've kind of grew up with in our time at the club are doing really well, aren't they? And it's good to see. They're not playing in the National League reserve team, so maybe it's gone unnoticed a little bit or under the radar. Yeah. However, the games are still being played, aren't they? And they're doing really well. Even in the league, as I mentioned earlier, they are so far behind on games played that they're like halfway in the league. But if they won all their games, they'd be like title challenging right now.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, good to see. And obviously they drew against Lyon on the weekend as well, which was
a last-minute equaliser from my here as well. So very, very good. Love to see.
You never want to lose against Lightown as a Stourbridge fan.
No. But yeah, again, congratulations to all those involved with that side of the club. Hopefully they absolutely smash it when the final comes around. John, anything to add?
No, just Forest at home next game. Next game. So obviously we'll see there. I'm actually working till 2:30, so I might just make the end of the game. I will still be there at some point, even if I'm just there for the drinks afterwards. I think that's going to be a great occasion for some of these players, and I think this probably never got mentioned enough last season. They're playing on Nottingham Forest. You know, these players have probably been playing like teams like, I'm not going to name them, but like teams in tier 5, 6 and 7 in their history, and now they're playing Forest. Yeah. Enjoy it. You know, exactly. Just it's massive, isn't it? You know, some of these players weren't at the club when they played at the City Ground earlier in the season, and there's still a few more games to come up into the West home. So yeah, it's going to be a good occasion for them. So just take it and just enjoy it because you can play Forest.
100%. And I'll tell you what, Nottingham Forest will not like the boggy trenches of the War Memorial Ground. So anything could happen, right?
and shout out to Forest Women's Fancast over there. We've collaborated with them in the past, so nice to meet up with them again on Sunday, hopefully. Shout out to you guys as well. You're doing a great job.
Cool. Yeah. And I think that is where we're going to wrap
it up.
The
book up, man.
Yeah. Put it all down and go to bed, I think, after all that. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. I will see you later. Ash.